So let's ready. First one is table completion one. In listening, we have four sections: everyday conversation, monologue, academic conversation, and monologue academic context. Question 1 to 8. Listen to the recording and follow the instructions. Complete the table below. Write no more than 3 words or a number in each gap. So 1, 2.
You will hear part of a conversation between a husband and wife at home. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 8.
Not football again. Every time I come in, you've got some football match on.
No, I haven't. Sometimes there's tennis or golf.
Well, sport then. Actually, in the newspaper today, there's an article about it. Do you know how much radio time is dedicated to sport in this country?
I guess maybe 50 or so hours a week.
Well, according to the article, it's more than that. And it's different in summer and winter. Here's a test for you. How many hours a week do you think? More than 50?
That's a good question. I guess about 60 hours in the summer and about 100 in the winter.
Close. In the winter, there are actually 110 hours a week dedicated to sport. In the summer, more than you thought, but less than in the winter. 85 hours a week.
Really? I suppose all the interviews, football transfer news, everything?
And the main tennis tournaments, of course. Actually, in the summer, tennis has the most coverage, with 28 hours a week.
Yes, that makes sense. In the winter, football must be the most.
You're right. They say 58 hours a week is dedicated to football.
58? That's a lot. I can't imagine I listen to all of that.
Sometimes it feels like you do. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I read it wrong. Actually, it's 38 hours. But that's still a lot.
Yes, that's more like it. You're right, though. 38 hours a week of football is too much even for me.
First I've heard of it. There is so much football that even in summer it takes second place. There's always football on the radio.
Not always. What's second in the winter? I guess rugby or motor racing, maybe.
Huh. Let's have a look here. Oh, it doesn't really say.
What do you mean?
Well, it just says other sports. Apparently, 36 hours a week coverage is given to these other sports. So I suppose rugby could be part of it.
Other sports, eh? That's a bit vague, I agree. Is golf on there? The radio covers a lot of tournaments. I bet in the summer it's high.
After tennis, football is the most covered sport. And then, wait a minute. Yes, golf is next, with 15 hours of coverage, above motor racing.
I thought it would be more than that. Surprised football is still so high.
I'm more surprised by the fact tennis is so high on the list in winter.
Ah, that's because of the tournaments in places like Australia. You remember staying up last year to listen to the final?
I remember you staying up, yes. Anyway, it says that 13 hours a week in winter, there's tennis on the radio.
30? Really?
I said 13.
Okay.
Now your favorite, motor racing.
Ha ha, don't tell me. I bet it's about 20. It seems like it.
Well, according to the article, 12 hours a week are given to motor racing.
That's in the winter, isn't it? Because of all the talk about the different teams and contracts?
Actually, no. That's the summer. 12 hours a week.
Well, they do have the races on most of the time, I suppose.
Although, yes, you're right. It's the same amount in the winter as well. Motor racing takes fourth place in the list in both seasons.
Still too much, in my opinion.
Well, you don't have to listen to it, do you?
If it's on, I listen to it sometimes. So is that the end of the list?
No, a couple of other things. Let's see now. So in the summer, other sports comes bottom of the list with 6 hours a week.
Like rugby, swimming, table tennis, golf?
No, we had golf already, remember? Are you listening to any of this?
Sorry. So remind me again. In the summer, golf had 10 hours a week?
In the summer, golf has 15 hours a week coverage.
In the winter, I can't imagine there's any coverage at all.
Well, you're wrong. And it's maybe more than you think.
Surely not more than 5.
Yes, actually, more than 10. 11 hours a week in the winter.
11? What could they be covering?
You tell me. You're the one listening to it all the time.
Now, wait a minute. That's not true.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Karen has decided she would like to do an evening course in Italian. You will hear a conversation between Karen and the admissions officer at an evening school. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good evening. How can I help you? I'd like some information about one of your evening courses, please. Have you seen our brochure? Yes, I think I know which course I'd like to do. This one here, Italian for Beginners. The thing is, I studied Italian at school a long time ago, and I do remember some basic grammar and vocabulary, but that's about it, really. This course wouldn't be too easy for me, would it?
I think it would be. It's for people who have no knowledge of Italian at all. You'd probably be better doing Italian level 1. This one here.
Okay. This is just conversational Italian, isn't it? I don't want to spend time doing grammar exercises and writing like I did at school. That's why I gave up. It was so boring.
Don't worry, the emphasis is on conversation. A lot of people do the class because they go to Italy on holiday. It's so cheap these days, people are popping over to Rome and Milan for weekends.
Oh, good. That's why I want to do the course. Is the course fee the same as for the Italian for Beginners?
No, it's a longer course, so it's £90.
How long is this course then?
12 weeks. The beginner's course is only 5 weeks because it's just meant to give people a taste.
I see. Is it on a Friday evening?
No, you have a choice of Tuesdays or Thursdays.
At 6:45, right?
No, let me see. Level 1 starts a bit earlier, I think. Yes, 6:15. There's a reason for that. I can't remember why now.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's a 2-hour class though, isn't it?
Yes, all our classes are 2 hours.
And I read somewhere that you keep the number of students down.
Yes, we never exceed 15 in a class, but very few of our classes actually have more than about 12 students.
Oh, good. And the course starts next week?
Yes, the Tuesday course starts on the 5th, the Thursday on the 7th.
Do I need to take a test or anything before enrolling?
Not for this class, no.
Okay, I'll enroll then.
That is the end. Before the conversation continues, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 12. Now, listen to the next part of the conversation and answer questions 8 to 12.
Right, I'll need to take some details from you then. What's your surname? Howlett. How do you spell that? Howlett. And your first name? Karen. Karen Louise. Okay. And your address? 13 Berkeley Road, Eastleigh. How do you spell Berkeley? Berkely. Thanks. And your home telephone number? 2380-799-414. Okay. And your work number? 1962-870-533. 1962-870-533. So you want to do Italian level 1? Yes. Which day? I can't make Tuesdays, so it'll have to be the Thursday class. Okay. Let me just check the course code for that. Right, it's IT1B79. How would you like to pay? By credit card. MasterCard or Visa? MasterCard. Can I have the number, please? 4027-9217-6632-8551. So that's 4027-9217-6632-8851. 8551. Oh, sorry. And when does it expire? July 2004. Right, that seems to be it.
That is the end. You will hear a conversation between Peter and Sarah, two friends who are on a plane to London on their way back to university. They are returning from a holiday in Hong Kong, where their parents are working. They have been travelling for 10 hours so far, and Sarah has just woken up. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 4.
I don't know how you do that.
What?
Just curl up in that seat and sleep for 8 hours without waking up.
I'm just lucky, I suppose. Couldn't you sleep?
I think I got about 2 hours. I watched 2 films and I've read half my book.
What time is it now?
10:15.
10:15? But that's Hong Kong time.
Yeah, there's 7 hours different.
I know. Why don't you change the time on your watch?
I will when we get there. There's a while to go yet.
How much longer before we land?
About 2 hours. We're supposed to arrive at Heathrow at 5:10 UK time.
Well, that's not so bad. I really did sleep a long time, didn't I? Have you decided what you're going to have for breakfast?
Yep, I'm going to have the English breakfast.
Isn't it all fattening fried stuff, like sausages and bacon and eggs?
No, this one sounds quite healthy. Here, have a look at the menu. It's a cheese omelette with tomatoes, grilled sausages, and breakfast potatoes, whatever they are.
I've had those before. They're just chopped up in small pieces and fried.
Okay, so it's a little bit unhealthy, but I'm having it. I suppose you're going to have the Chinese noodles.
Might be my last chance for a while.
I doubt it. You can't cook anything else, can you?
Actually, I've become quite a good cook, I have. I can make soups and rice dishes and all sorts of things. Yes, I'm definitely going to go for the noodles. They come with chicken.
Great.
Peter and Sarah are now standing beside the baggage carousel. Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 and 6. Now, listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 5 and 6.
That's great. My luggage is always last off the plane.
How many pieces have you got?
1,
What does it look like?
it's big and black. Oh, no, it's not. My mother wanted my suitcase for their next holiday, so she's given me some horrible grey one. It's huge.
It's probably gone past then if you were looking for a black one.
Oh, I hope not.
Is that it?
No, it's bigger than that. It's also really old. It's got marks all over it and lots of stickers.
Has it got a luggage label on it?
Nope.
Is that it?
Could be. Yeah, that's it. Great. Let's go. Okay, so where's this wonderful brother of yours?
I don't know. There are too many people here. I can't see.
Isn't that him over there, beside the information desk? He's got a moustache and a beard, right?
Not anymore. He got rid of the beard and moustache before he left Hong Kong last week. Apparently, his new girlfriend made him. There he is!
Where?
There! The bloke wearing glasses. Standing beside that woman wearing the red baseball cap. That must be her.
Who?
The new girlfriend. Ricky! Ricky! Over here! I don't think he's seen us yet.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Before you listen to the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now, listen to the rest of the discussion and answer questions 11 to 15.
Right. Well, on this radio, the battery's completely discharged. And since we're in a room without sunlight, the solar panel's hardly working. So we're going to rely entirely on the wind-up technology. Now, as you can see, you have to wind it about 60 times in a clockwise direction. It won't work the other way, see? Now I've turned it on. Reasonable volume like this, not too loud. It should play for about 60 minutes. It's not just FM, is it? No. With the FM antenna down, you'll get good AM reception from the internal AM antenna. Listen. Music from Thailand, a country. It also receives shortwave, though this is best with the plug-in shortwave aerial.
From the BBC World Service in London.
It's quite impressive, isn't it? How they've got so many features into such a small space. Right. And with the solar panel, you may hardly ever have to use the wind-up technology. Because in direct sunlight, it produces enough power to fully charge the battery. It takes about 20 hours to do this, and you can listen to the radio at the same time. And how long does the battery last? When it's fully charged, it will give you about 16 hours of listening time with the flashlight on. And if you turn off the radio and just use the flashlight, you'll get about 30 hours of light from it. Obviously, the flashlight doesn't use as much energy as the radio.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 13 to 16. Now, listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 13 to 16.
Oh, I nearly forgot. You need to buy a course book for the class. It's called Essential Italian. You can get it at Books and More in the High Street. Okay. Do you know how much it costs? £14. Right. And is there a break during the lesson? Yes, your teacher should give you about 10 minutes. Oh, that reminds me. The teacher. I forgot to ask. Is the teacher a native speaker? Yes, Mrs. Ladicina comes from Milan. Oh, good. Thanks, then. You're welcome.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Before the discussion continues, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now, listen to the next part of the discussion and answer questions 6 to 10.
Well, this is it. And as you can see, it's quite compact. It may look simple, but in fact, it's pretty sophisticated.
What's this thing here?
Oh, that's not really part of the radio. It's a detachable flashlight. Look, you see this cord here? Well, you plug the cord into this socket, and using the same power that plays the radio, you also have this flashlight. It may not seem much, but in a village without electricity, or if you were camping halfway up a mountain, this could be very useful indeed. And look here, on the back of the flashlight, there's a magnet, so you can fix the light to any metal surface. The light's about as bright as a candle, bright enough to move around a room without bumping into things.
And this round thing here on the side must be the winding handle, right?
Yeah, you turn it about 60 times and it's fully round. And you see this flat section here on top of the radio under the carrying handle. That's the solar panel. The radio also runs off solar power, and this will charge the battery too.
And to the right of that is the antenna.
Yes, that's the FM antenna.
It's all very compact, isn't it?
Yeah, a very good, well thought out design.
Excellent. Let's see how it works then. That is the end.
You will hear a talk about writing an online journal. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now, We shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 10.
Today, I am going to talk about writing an online journal. People write diaries about their personal experiences, opinions, and hobbies. An online journal is often called a blog. Blog is a blend of the terms web and log. A log is another word for a journal, and as it is online, on the web, it is called a blog. You should try to make your online journal useful, interesting, and unique. It's a good idea to use a pen and paper. Typing at a computer can lead to writing that lacks thought, shape, and reflection. Although the internet is great for research, there are also loads of opportunities to get distracted. The old pen and paper approach will help you focus your ideas. It is important to choose a topic you care about, as this will give you motivation. You may get an idea for a topic while you are working, eating a meal, riding on a bus, or in a million other situations. Jot it down and let it evolve. If you have several ideas, put them in a text document on the desktop of your computer. Later, as you scan these topics, perhaps one or two will connect with you particularly strongly. Think about further points you could include about the topic and form ideas. Slowly, a post will take shape. The important thing is to take your time and let your ideas evolve and develop. Try to have a new angle on a topic. When you think of the number of online journals there are, you realize you had better come up with something special. Don't just copy the format and ideas of others. Something that matters to you will be more powerful and engaging than just merely reporting news or following a popular trend. It is also a good idea to limit yourself to just one topic for each post. Don't spread yourself too thin, and consider the reader's attention span. Get your reader's interest with a catchy heading. The most effective titles are short, simple, and easy to understand. How-to or tutorial type journals are very successful. Alternatively, some readers are drawn by mysterious titles, which don't tell them much about what they will be reading, but sound intriguing. Finally, take your time with your titles. Carefully written diaries are often passed by due to carelessly thought out titles. If your title is boring, people won't bother to investigate. Here are some statistics. An average online journal reader stays 96 seconds on a page. Because reading from a screen is more tiring than reading from paper, reading rates are 25% slower, and most people scan. Therefore, it is important to make your diary easy to scan. Use bold type, underlining, capitals, and bullet points to emphasize ideas. Pictures, of course, draw the reader's eye, and you should place them intelligently by your key points. Only 16% of people read websites word for word, but photos or drawings can be visually attractive and entertaining. Use space. Don't fill up every inch of the screen. This will give the reader room to focus on your main point. If you have a key point, make sure it is obvious and that you get your message across. Think about your audience as you write, what it is exactly that you want to share with them. In order to keep people reading, don't cram all your ideas into the opening paragraph. Avoid making too many lists, like my top 10 action movies, or endlessly describing the plots. If you are too repetitive, people will leave your online journal.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 10 to 15. Now, listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 10 to 15.
So what can you do to help? Well, you can, of course, become a volunteer in a developing country. We need teachers, IT specialists, health professionals, and management and finance professionals, and so on. However, you don't have to leave home. You can also support us by helping us here in Britain. We have local groups who promote BWI's work and raise awareness of the issues affecting people in the developing world. You can also get involved in our fundraising events, either as an organizer or by taking part in a marathon or sponsored hike, for example. You can buy BWI merchandise, such as music from around the world, endangered species cuddly toys, and t-shirts. You can also shop in certain stores that give 6% of everything you spend to VWI. You can, of course, give a donation too, or you can set up a regular contribution from your salary. And you can also sponsor a volunteer. We're always looking for sponsorship of this kind, as recruiting, training, and supporting a volunteer costs thousands of pounds a week.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear a talk on the radio given by a representative from an international development charity. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 3.
That last track was, of course, Elton John singing Candle in the Wind. It's time now for this week's charity spot, and we have James Lewis from Voluntary Workers International to tell us about what they do and how you can help. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Rosie, and thank you for having me on the show today. Well, I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of Voluntary Workers International, or VWI as it's better known. We're one of the largest development charities based here in the UK and also in the USA. We send volunteers to work with communities in developing countries in Africa and Asia, and we hope to move into Eastern Europe shortly. At present, we have around 1,500 people involved in projects in 53 countries. Our main aim is for our volunteers to share their skills and experience with local people to help them help themselves. However, the learning is a two-way process, as our volunteers will tell you. They usually leave these countries having gained something personally and professionally. They'll tell you about the friendships they've made and how they've learned new skills that greatly enhance their career prospects.
That is the end. before the talk continues, you have some time to look at questions 4 to 9. Now, listen to the next part of the talk and answer questions 4 to 9.
Since the organisation was set up 32 years ago, we've sent out over 21,000 volunteers. At the moment, our recruits come from European countries like Britain and France, and the United States, but we're planning to do a recruitment drive in Canada and Australia shortly. Most of our volunteers are between the ages of 21 and 65, but we do have one or two very special people who are between the ages of 66 and 70. Most of our resources are put into projects that have long-term objectives in areas such as education, health, business, agriculture, and the environment. In Vietnam, for example, our biggest project there is an English language teacher training and primary teacher training. Our volunteers work in junior teachers' colleges and go out to the provinces to conduct in-service training. In South Africa, one of our main projects is providing healthcare skills. Volunteers conduct training in hospitals in rural communities, and in Thailand our main concentration is within the environmental sector. Volunteers go out to schools and colleges to help raise awareness of environmental issues and conservation. They're also sent on placements in national parks and wildlife sanctuaries where they conduct staff training programs and initiate research.
That is the end. You will hear part of a tutorial in which a student and a tutor discuss endangered languages. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the conversation and answer questions 1 to 6.
So, Mark, let's talk about the work you've been doing this week. You've been looking at endangered languages, haven't you?
Yeah, but not just endangered languages. I've also done some research into languages that have already disappeared.
Okay. What have you come up with?
Well, I started by looking at the Celtic languages spoken here in the British Isles, and I found that they're either already extinct or in serious danger of disappearing. For example, Cornish, which used to be spoken in Cornwall, has been extinct since the 19th century. There have been several attempts to revive it, but they've all failed. And a more recent example is the language that was spoken on the Isle of Man, Manx. It died out in the 1940s. So the only Celtic languages still spoken in the British Isles are Welsh, Irish, and Scottish Gaelic. But all three are under threat from English.
So will they disappear too one day? What do you think?
It's difficult to say, really. Of the three, Welsh is probably the most likely to survive. My research shows that it's not declining quite as fast as the other two. About 1 person in 5 in Wales speaks Welsh, and it's being promoted in Welsh medium schools, so the number of children who speak it is actually rising. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it made a comeback.
And would you say it's mainly because of the spread of English that most minority languages are dying out?
Well, it depends on the part of the world. In North America, that's certainly the case. In the 19th century, there were more than 300 indigenous languages, but about half have already disappeared, and more are dying out all the time. For example, only about 10 old people still speak Achumawi, a language from northeastern California, and that's out of a tribe of 800. The rest all speak English.
What about countries where English isn't widely spoken?
Yes, well, in Brazil, there were over 1,000 languages in the 19th century. That number is down to just 200 now, and they're all under pressure from Portuguese. But I've found that it's not always a case of a weaker language being threatened by the spread of a dominant language. There are lots of reasons why languages disappear. A dramatic example is the Trumai language, which was only spoken in one particular village in the Amazon rainforest. In the 1960s, a group of Western explorers passed through this village and, unfortunately, while they were there, they infected the local population with flu. The villagers didn't have any resistance to the virus at all, and all but 10 of them died, so Trumai has completely vanished now.
Yes, that's a good example of how a language can become extinct almost overnight. But to get back to endangered languages, is there any evidence that they can be preserved?
Yes, I think they can. The key seems to be official support. Endangered languages can recover if they've got that. The Catalan's a good example. It was given the status of an official regional language in Spain, and it's actually spoken by more people today than in the 1970s, and the number of speakers is rising all the time. Still, of the 6,000 languages in existence at the moment, 3,000 run the risk of disappearing a century from now.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
How are you getting on with that presentation, Sally? The one you're going to give on insects and human diseases?
I'm just working on it now, actually. How convenient. You can help me with it.
Okay. What would you like me to do?
Just a couple of things. First, I'd like to run through the basic facts, just to see if you think I'm leaving anything out. How about if you ask me questions and I'll see if they're covered in my notes?
All right. Let's see. Okay, I'll start with something general. Are there a lot of insects that carry diseases that affect humans? I mean, I know there's a type of mosquito that carries malaria, but apart from that, are insects generally as dangerous as some people make out?
A few insects are, yeah. It's the Anopheles mosquito that transmits the malaria parasite, by the way. While it's sucking blood, the parasite passes into the victim's bloodstream. Nearly 3 million people die of malaria worldwide each year, mostly children. And there's another type of mosquito, the Aedes aegypti, that carries a viral infection called dengue fever. It's spreading quite fast in the tropics and subtropics, and in some cases it can prove fatal.
I see. And what about flies? Are they dangerous? I mean, we're always told they're dirty and unhygienic.
Well, houseflies can be dangerous, especially in unsanitary conditions. You know, where there's no adequate water supply, or if people don't follow the basic rules of hygiene when they handle food. Houseflies transmit quite a lot of infectious diseases, actually, especially what are known as enteric diseases. Dysentery, for example, though it can be transmitted in other ways as well.
It sounds like most of these diseases are more common in tropical countries and poor countries. Is that true?
In general, yes. But people in developed countries shouldn't feel complacent. But with people travelling more nowadays, tropical diseases are starting to appear in non-tropical countries. And of course, developed countries have their own disease-carrying insects. For example, in North America, there's a type of tick, black-legged deer tick, that spreads Lyme disease. Normally, it only affects deer, but humans can also contract it if one of these ticks latches onto them instead.
That reminds me of something I read the other day about a disease people can catch from sheep and goats. Q fever, I think it's called.
That's right, but it's not spread by insects, so I won't be talking about it in my presentation.
Okay. Are there many other disease-carrying insects?
Lots. Body lice, for example. People who live in unhygienic conditions often have them, and they're the main cause of epidemic typhus, a fatal bacterial infection.
Epidemic typhus?
Yes, because there's also endemic typhus, which is mainly transmitted by fleas.
The fleas you find on cats and dogs?
Rat fleas, usually.
I'm sure I've heard about a disease we can catch from cats. Toxo something.
Toxoplasmosis. Yes, you can catch it from cats, but it's carried by the cat itself, not by its fleas. You can even get it by eating meat that hasn't been cooked properly. It's quite common, actually. But to get back to insects, I've just got a couple more diseases in my notes. Most people have heard of sleeping sickness and the tsetse fly, but there's also river blindness. That's a parasitic infection carried by black fly. It's quite common in West Africa. There are various varieties of leishmaniasis, also common in West Africa, but parts of the Mediterranean too. These will prove fatal to your dog, but can also affect and sometimes kill humans, caused by a tiny sandfly, about a third the size of a mosquito.
What a hazardous world we live in.
Before you listen to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 9 to 12. Now, listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 9 to 12.
In the second part of my presentation, I have to talk in detail about the spread of dengue fever. And I want to show how mosquitoes infect people with the disease. So I got this picture of a mosquito's head. Here, look. I'm going to use it to make handouts for everyone. What do you think?
Pretty impressive.
Think so? I downloaded it off the internet. Anyway, I was hoping you'd write the labels for me, seeing as your handwriting is much clearer than mine.
Okay, you better give me the master copy then. Thanks. Right, where shall we start?
Hang on, let me check my notes. Okay. See that bit that takes up most of the head? Looks sort of like honeycomb? That's its eye.
So you just want me to write I, do you?
Yes, please. Then these rather long projections with all these fine hairs on them are the antennae. In the picture, they're facing forwards and slightly upwards.
Antennae is spelt with a double N, isn't it?
That's right.
And what's this shorter thing sticking out of what looks like the mouth?
It's a type of sensor that a lot of insects have. It's called a pulp. That's P-A-L-P. Mosquitoes don't have mouths, by the way.
So how do they suck blood then?
Well, they use the needle, this long, very thin, pointed thing here, to pierce a hole in the skin. Then it inserts the proboscis, that's the long curved tube, into the hole and...
Proboscis? How do you spell that?
P-R-O-B-O-S-C-I-S. As I was saying, it inserts its proboscis into the hole in the skin, and with that it sucks blood from a blood vessel just under the skin. It's very interesting. You know, just before it starts sucking, it injects an anesthetic to stop you feeling it, and an anticoagulant to keep the blood flowing. And it's while it's doing this that the dengue fever virus passes into the victim's bloodstream.
And you say that tropical insects like this mosquito are spreading to non-tropical countries?
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear part of an orientation talk given by a member of the Students' Union at a university in Britain. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 8.
Right, okay. You've been given lots of information about the university campus today, so I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on the town. Brampton-on-Tees is a lovely town, actually, and there's lots to do. Important things first, though, eating and drinking. A really popular hangout is the Italian La Tavernetta. It's just off the high street. Their prices are very reasonable and their pasta sauces are pretty good. Don't confuse it with the American pizza place American Pie on the other side of the road, though, because they're much too expensive. Another good place is the Tiger's Palace. They do the best Indian food for miles. I really recommend their chicken tikka. There are also one or two really expensive but really good restaurants, like the French restaurant Le Tire Bouchon. It's in Staunton Street near the cathedral. You need to save this place for special occasions, though, like your graduation or when someone else is paying. For vegetarians, well, there used to be a vegetarian restaurant in Brampton, but it closed down last year. Most restaurants do some vegetarian dishes, but the best vegetarian food is actually takeaway. There's Food Express in the high street, which does these really filling vegetable samosas and spring rolls. And they also do baked potatoes with all sorts of toppings. And you can get really tasty veggie burgers from the Burger Bar opposite Food Express. And as the park is only 2 minutes away, you can go and eat there. But they do both deliver to the campus too. As for bars, or pubs as we call them here, I think everyone's favourite is the White Swan beside the river. It's lovely in the summer because they've got a large beer garden and you can sit outside and watch the swans. In the winter, they light a log fire inside and it's really cosy. The only thing is, though, it's quite a walk from the centre of town. The best pub in the centre is the George in the High Street. There's a good atmosphere in there, especially on a Saturday night as they've got a live band. It can get really noisy, though. The 3 Tons is okay as well. It's just off the High Street. They have a quiz night on Fridays and you can make up a team if you want. There's also a really nice wine bar called The Cellar. It's in Park Road, but don't eat there. The food's really overpriced. Okay, I've got shopping next on my list of things to tell you about.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 11. Now, listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 8 to 11.
Aside from eating sensibly, what else should you be doing to keep healthy in winter? Well, of course, exercise is extremely important to maintain a healthy body all year round. The problem is that in winter, most of us tend to turn into couch potatoes until the weather gets warmer. Unfortunately, our body's disease-fighting cells are likely to take the same attitude. However, if you take regular exercise, the cells will get moving too and do a better job of detecting any invading viruses. Remember that you can pick up and transmit germs via your hands, so make sure you wash them regularly. Also, I know that at the moment, a lot of you are working until late at night, trying to get all your work done before the Christmas holidays. But you really must make sure you get enough sleep. Lack of sleep isn't going to do your health any good, and you don't want to be sick over the holidays, do you? And finally, don't forget to wrap up warmly. It can get very cold here in winter, so wear warm clothes.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers. You will hear part of a lecture about a small tribe of Native Americans. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the lecture and answer questions 1 to 7.
Good morning. It's nice to see so many of you here today for this, my second lecture on Indigenous peoples. This morning, we're going to look at the impact of tourism on their lives. Tourism is a vast industry. It reaches every corner of the earth and leaves few communities, however small, however remote, untouched. While its benefits to national and local economies are often talked about, it may have unexpected negative effects on small groups of Indigenous people who are little prepared for it. Today, I'm going to talk about how it has affected one particular tribe in North America, the Havasupai, a tribe of approximately 600 Native Americans who live in a remote part of the Grand Canyon in Arizona. The Havasupai, unlike many other tribes, haven't set up a casino, nor have they tried to continue with their traditional way of life regardless. Basically, they live off the visitors who walk into their village from the outside world to see its spectacular waterfalls. I say walk because that's the only way of reaching their village, unless you fly in by helicopter, an option used only by the lazy few. The tribe runs a lodge, a campsite, a cafe, and a small market. Unfortunately, until quite recently, the Havasupai felt like prisoners in their own village, not because of the lack of roads, but because part of their land was incorporated into the Grand Canyon National Park. The result of this was that their reservation was reduced in size and they were forbidden to use the plateau above their village, where previously they'd hunted for elk. They now have their old hunting grounds back, but the feeling of imprisonment is hard to shake off. While they do grow a few of their own crops, these are mainly used for preparing traditional Havasupai meals for tourists. The locals prefer hamburgers, hot dogs, and French fries, which are flown in from outside by helicopter. Of course, this makes living in the village an expensive business. What's more, where other places may burn or recycle their rubbish, this is a national park and all rubbish has to be removed by helicopter. The Havasupai have made some effort to maintain their native culture. For example, the young people still speak their native language. On the other hand, they generally choose to listen to rap or reggae rather than their own traditional music, and most villagers spend much of their time glued to the television. Despite the income from tourism, the village has no secondary school, so young people who want to continue their education have to leave the village. About 75% of those who go on to secondary school drop out, and many of those who leave the village never return. Village leaders say they never wanted to turn their village into a tourist resort in the first place. It was something forced on them by the National Park Service. However, now that they're committed, one of the ways forward in the future seems to be to allow the public access to the plateau, where they'll be able to charge visiting hunters $12,000 per animal they kill. They hope this will boost the village economy sufficiently for them to be able to revive their traditions. What's more, there are now plans afoot.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Before you listen to the rest of the talk, You have some time to look at questions 9 to 12. Now, listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 9 to 12.
Now, I'd like to move on to discuss things to avoid in a job interview. Often people will prepare well and walk in full of confidence, but then make a lot of mistakes, which ultimately cost them the position. I'd like to mention 4 errors in particular that can have a strongly negative impact on interviewers. Firstly, you should under no circumstances check a text or take a call. Not only will this make the interviewer feel that you cannot focus for any length of time, it will also send the message that the job is not important to you. On a related note, no matter what else is going on in your life at the time, do not allow your mind to wander during the interview. Again, if the interviewers feel that you are not paying attention to them, or if you are looking out of the window rather than listening intently and making eye contact, then your chances of success will be limited. A third point, which people often forget, is to think carefully about what you need to say. It is normal to feel nervous on important occasions, and when anxious, people have a tendency to speak more than usual. However, remember that an interview is a professional setting, and even if asked personal questions, you should try to link that in with your career objectives. Finally, always resist the temptation to be negative about firms or bosses you have worked for in the past, even if they are the competitors of the company you are interviewing with. By doing so, you will give your interviewers the impression that you are not good at forming relationships and lack maturity. Always emphasize the positive aspects of previous work experiences. Okay, so those are the things I consider to be the most important things to keep in mind for job interviews. Now, are there any questions?
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Before the talk continues, you have some time to look at questions 9 to 12. Now, listen to the next part of the talk and answer questions 9 to 12.
Personally, I think the time you spend studying on your own, if you use it intelligently, can be the most beneficial part of university life. It not only allows you to develop your intellectual powers and become more familiar with your subject, but you can also use the time to research those aspects of the course that you're particularly interested in. However, having said that, generally, I don't think you're studying very productively if you spend most of your time memorizing endless lists of facts. Here at the university, we value the ability to think and analyze rather than the ability to memorize. After all, facts can always be found quite easily in reference books. Individual study will probably take up most of your time here, but you'll find that you also spend between 10 and 20 hours a week in lectures. Don't go into lectures and try and write down everything the lecturer says. Lecturers tell stories to illustrate points. They give a lot of examples, and occasionally they even tell jokes. You should aim only to note down the key points. Oh, and by the way,
If you want to record a lecture, you must ask for the lecturer's permission first. I don't really know if recording lectures is a good idea. Perhaps it is for overseas students like yourselves, until your English improves. But you'll still have to take notes afterwards, and you may find that using tape recorders isn't very beneficial and rather time-consuming. You'll have to decide for yourselves. Now, I'd like to show you around the university library. So if you'd just like to follow me.
That is the end. You will hear a talk about keeping healthy in winter. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 7.
I've been asked to come and talk to you today because winter is nearly here, and it's been our experience that at this time of year a lot of students get sick with colds and flu. As far as health is concerned, we often know what we should be doing but fall into bad habits, so we do need gentle reminders now and again. So, what should you be doing? One of the things you must do is eat a well-balanced diet. If you don't, you weaken your immune system, which makes you susceptible to colds and flu. But what is a well-balanced diet? Basically, it's one that provides you with carbohydrates, protein, vitamins and minerals, and a small amount of fat. Carbohydrates are a vital source of energy and are particularly important in winter when the cold weather tends to make us all feel a bit lethargic. So you need to eat plenty of rice, pasta, potatoes, bread and cereals to boost your energy levels. You should also be eating 2 or 3 servings a day of foods which are a good source of protein, such as meat, fish and eggs. If you're a vegetarian, you need to get this from beans, nuts, milk, cheese and yogurt. And of course, you really can't eat enough fruit and vegetables, as they're an excellent source of vitamins and minerals. However, there are certain vitamins and minerals that are particularly important at this time of year because of the functions they perform, and you should make a special effort to increase your intake of these in winter. For example, most of you probably know that vitamin C helps to keep the immune system strong and is an important cold-fighting nutrient. Everybody knows it can be found in citrus fruits, but you may not be aware that green peppers and black currants are an even richer source. Vitamin A is also very important. It strengthens the cell walls that viruses try to pass through. Liver and yellow and orange foods, such as egg yolks and carrots, are all good sources of vitamin A. And zinc has been found to increase the release of vitamin A, so you should also try to include seafood and whole grain cereals in your diet, as they're both rich in zinc. Generally, though, you really must make sure you're getting the recommended daily requirement of all essential vitamins, including vitamins D and E. Oily fish is a good source of vitamin D, for example, and nuts and tomatoes contain vitamin E.
That is the end.
You will hear a talk given to university students about how to perform well in job interviews. First, you will have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. Now, we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 8.
Okay, I'd like to welcome back Mary West. Mary is our careers advisor, and over the past few weeks, she has been giving a series of talks on developing useful skills for finding a job. Today, she will be sharing some tips on how to deal with job interviews. Mary, over to you.
Thanks, Graham. Good morning, everyone. Yes, today I'm going to be talking with you about job interviews, and specifically about how to prepare and how to leave a good impression. To start, in a previous talk, I discussed the importance of the curriculum vitae, or CV for short. This is an account of your personal details and educational and work history. If you don't have one, write one. And if you do have one, remember that before any new application or interview, this needs to be updated to include your most recent activities. It should also highlight key information and focus on your achievements. Next, once you have an interview lined up, it is essential to do some background research on the company and about the position you are being offered. This means searching online for articles and other materials related to the firm, and also contacting people who have had dealings with the organisation, such as clients or employees, both former and current. After that, prepare a list of questions you are likely to be asked, and consider how to answer them. Questions such as, "What are your weaknesses?" are always likely to come up in an interview. Make time to practice with a friend so that you are able to respond in a confident manner. In addition, you should think very carefully about how you will dress for the interview. It is difficult to go wrong with a business suit, but make sure that the clothes fit you well and are not distracting for the interviewer. Finally, make sure you go to bed early on the night before your interview and get a good night's sleep. Let's move on now to how to make the best possible impression on interview day. The first thing to remember is to be punctual. Generally speaking, 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time is adequate. There is no need to be too early. Furthermore, make sure to speak politely to everyone you meet, no matter how lowly their position. When you are introduced to others, convey confidence with eye contact and a warm smile. And make sure you give equal attention to everyone. Also, avoid crossing your arms or looking away when an interviewer is speaking. This will make them feel that you are anxious or uninterested. Next, during the interview, make sure to speak clearly and to give concise answers. You should be positive throughout the interview. However, do not exaggerate your skills or experience. Your qualifications or employment record should speak for themselves. If you are given the opportunity to ask questions, use this to demonstrate your knowledge of the company and its structure and operations.
That is the end.
You will hear a talk about methods of study used at universities in the UK. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 8. we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully to the talk and answer questions 1 to 8.
Good morning, and welcome to the university. My name's Dr. Grant, and today I'm going to give you a brief introduction to the methods of study we encourage and the sorts of study skills we expect you to develop while you're here. One of the things you'll be doing, of course, is attending lectures. These are normally 1 hour long and take the form of a lecturer talking to a large group of students, sometimes more than 100 at a time. While the lecturer is talking, you're expected to take notes. The aim of lectures is to help you find your way through a course, to help you focus on the main points. Remember, you'll have to do your own background reading both before and after lectures to gain more in-depth knowledge of a subject. You won't normally have the chance to ask questions during lectures, but this is something that you can do when you attend seminars, which usually consist of a group of between 5 and 15 students and a tutor. 1 or more students present a topic, and this is followed by a group discussion. The aim of seminars is to help you understand arguments, make critical judgments, and, as a result, form your own opinions on a subject. You'll also have meetings with your tutor, either on an individual basis or in small groups, and these are called tutorials. Your tutor will discuss work that you're doing or have already done and give you guidance on it. During tutorials, your tutor will also give you assistance with any study problems you may have. On many courses, the various science courses and drama and law, for example, there's practical work as well, and you'll do this either individually or in small groups. Your practical work is often carried out in what are called workshops, and the purpose of these is for you to gain practical experience and build on your theoretical knowledge of these subjects. Finally, you'll have to undertake a good deal of independent study, and by this I mean working alone, though sometimes you'll work in small groups. You'll have to do research into a subject, and then, based on this research, you'll have to either produce a piece of written work or give a presentation. The aim of this is to develop your research skills, give you a chance to study a subject in greater depth, and develop your own ideas.
That is the end. Before you listen to the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 13 to 16. Now, listen to the rest of the talk and answer questions 13 to 16.
And here's the library, which we're very proud of. We've just spent nearly £1 million upgrading it. It's on 4 floors, and here on the ground floor, on the left as you come in, is the service desk. You have to show your membership card here, and it's where you go if you want to borrow anything. Just past the service desk, also on the left, are the computer terminals. With these, you can access information from almost any library in the world over the internet. And just past the computers is our collection of CD-ROMs. Walking past these, you'll see the stairs there in the corner, and just to the right of them are the lifts. As you can see, next to the lifts are the photocopiers. They're coin-operated, by the way. And on our right, periodicals. We also have newspapers. Here they are at the end of the aisle. Now, if we turn right here, we find ourselves in the reference section. Directly in front of us are the dictionaries, and just past them is our collection of atlases. There's just one last section I'm sure you'll all be interested in. If we walk past the atlases, directly ahead to the left of the entrance as you look out, is the section with exam papers. Not just exam papers from this university, but from all public exams held in Britain. So, that's the ground floor. Now, if you'd like to make your way back to the lifts, I'll take you up to the first floor.
That is the end. You now have half a minute to check your answers.